That's good. Yeah, I'll get in my car. That'd be good. Yeah, there is a tree in that backyard. That's one great. Yeah, there's another one.
Been there for a while.
Yeah,
That one, but
it's the older. I'll bring that too. 6:30, call the meeting to order. Certified compliance with the open records law.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Hartung.
Here.
Councilmember Hooker.
Here.
Councilmember Raisler.
Here.
Councilmember Schneider.
Here.
Councilmember Schofield.
Here.
All are present.
Next we'll have the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's adopted. It's a time now for public comments. I believe we have some residents that would like to speak to the council. You want to help ask it?
Hi. How many at one time would you like to have us?
Two
Just a couple?
Two at a time, please.
I'll just
Two at a
stand.
time.
Okay, sounds good.
Just,
Kind of stand with everybody.
Facing
just,
Everybody?
by the way, we know who you are, but identify yourself for the record, please.
I'm Lynn Colson, this is my wife Kelly.
Kelly
And
Colson.
I spent a few moments today writing down some things I want to talk about today. I'm going to make it a little quick. I assume that everyone in this room knows why we're here, about issues that we're experiencing on the 600 block.
I'll explain it,
2nd
sir.
Avenue. What's that?
I'll explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, you already did, all right.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start out.
You explain.
Oh, the situation that we're dealing with is the deterioration of our neighborhood. The house that's right next to Kelly and I's house has been abandoned for over 2 years. Start out by saying that when we moved into that neighborhood 20 years ago, it was a nice place. We had, people took care of their lawns, took care of their houses. That's not the situation this day. What was it, in 2019, that we had that major snowfall? The people that was carrying Nona Clifton abandoned the house. And it was probably in March, we began to notice water in our basement. Now remember, this was when we had the large amount of snow. So I'm from Plum City, not the sharpest tool in the box, so I'm thinking, God, this is water, water coming off the hill. Now this lasted for almost 3 months. And I'm talking every day I had water up to my ankles. So there was probably hundreds, if not thousands of gallons of water in our basement. We didn't know. Damage to our foundation. Our front porch has dropped 6 inches since then.
That side.
On that side. Had a guy come in, he said, yeah, he goes, what's happening? He goes, there's a large amount of water came in, moved the dirt away from your basement, and the foundation is sinking. Well, we came in here, I think it was last March, and we heard that our neighbors who abandoned the place had a $12,000 water bill. Would have been nice to know that, guys. If you know that there's a water main leaking, it'd been nice to get a call. Said, hey, you guys, you might be getting water in your basement. We didn't know that. We've issues with the house itself, the Clifton house. It's I know there's ordinances on this. It's an abandoned structure. Some of the issues, the roof is collapsing. The garage is from floor to almost ceiling full of garbage. When in the summer, when you're working around there, which I mow the lawn, which she doesn't, but I mow the lawn, it reeks of mold. There's of pestilence because they probably had thousands of gallons of water in their basement. There's boards, pieces of roof laying around there. Now, neighbors here have children, and there's children behind us and to the left that play there. It's a health hazard. We've seen animals going in and
In
out
the roof
of
line, yeah,
rats.
there's a hole in the
mice.
roof line.
Live wires going into the house. That house is gonna burn, and it's gonna take our house with
Well,
us.
there's trees going
With
up between the house and the wires, so eventually those wires are gonna pull back and
We've reached out to the county.
To Heidi, yeah.
You know, and I realize that it's a difficult situation, but I think it's a different deal when you're talking about the place that's downtown, Bubba's. That's not in a residential area. This isn't a residential area and it's costing, I don't care what people do with their lives. I'm a libertarian, I could care less. But when it's costing, our house is not worth what it should be. Because you go up there and you take a look at what's going on in the house that's next to ours, and the Hoyt's place, the blue house that's across from them, I don't know the address, but when there's dog feces up to your ankles, and there's tires, and there's trailers, abandoned cars, and piles of garbage out, nobody's gonna wanna live there. Back to Nona's house, there's a tree and there's children playing underneath there, that is eventually, it's split, it's gonna fall. It's either gonna fall on someone or a structure. I don't know what to do with it because we're not on the best speaking terms with them right now. I cut the thing down myself, but it's not on my property, but it's going to be another windstorm, it's gonna collapse, but what I'm morally concerned about is there's children running around there, more than ever. I mean, there's children behind us and the side, the Karsh bombs have children, they play in that area. It's a hazard. Am I missing anything?
No, you hit that was good. We'll let somebody else speak to the blue house on the corner.
Okay. But I know that there's ordinances involved in this.
Well, and they're I think as of, January, whatever, they're 3 years late paying their taxes. So I don't know at what point the county can step in and when Heidi could get in there or when you could get in there, Chief, to see the destruction. I know the basement was really bad. At one time there was asbestos and garbage so much so that Bowers Gas had a terrible time in there even before they ever moved out. They said it was just rancid and disgusting in the basement. So now what does it look like after all that flooding has occurred?
But we're from here to that wall away from that place. And you have the windows open in the summer, it rains. Now, this shouldn't be going on here, guys. We shouldn't have to live that way. I mean, I'm not saying our house is anything special, but we mow the lawn, they don't mow it, they don't shovel it.
They didn't shovel it all this
No.
year.
No. And it's costing, I mean, everybody here today lives up on the 600 block of 2nd Avenue, and it's an issue with us. I don't know what you can do about it, but I know that everybody here wants people to move to this town, and pay their taxes and have nice homes and send their kids to school. But I'll tell you what, if I was coming through this town and I went up on our end, there's no way in heck I'd buy a house here. But, thank you, appreciate it.
And, yeah, we'll let and then what we'll do is, we will come up with a course of action about dealing with this, whether it's, whichever departments will be doing that.
Sure.
So we'll put that together, but we'll give everybody the opportunity to speak tonight, and then we'll put together a course of action, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else want to talk?
The only thing I have is a question on, my name is Wayne White, I live off the street, and my neighbors across me at 603, they just moved in a couple years ago, and I was chased down, I don't know if you remember Stan, chased down in my yard by their dog. But I guess my only question about these ordinances that you guys have, action, or do you guys, the police or someone see it and then they go up to them and give them a warning?
Chief, if you'd like to respond.
Yeah, so we do an inspection in the spring, and we try to catch them, the ones that we can. But definitely, if you have concerns, it's nice to get a call so that we can put it on our list. We have a spreadsheet list of all the properties that we're dealing with, that we're addressing, and we'll definitely add it to the list. From driving just Montgomery Street and things like that, I'm not seeing, like Lynn had talked about, the dog poop in the yard and some other issues in there. The only issue I see with that yard is those orange Halloween bags that they must have put leaves in back in the fall that are still out there. But I don't see some of the issues that you guys are seeing as residents, so it's definitely good to give us a call. We can put it on our list and we can address it.
Okay.
So, but you don't have to call me now, because I know we'll put it on our list.
Well, and I walk the streets here, of course, you'll probably know. And so I see a lot of things, but I don't feel like I should be tattling on everybody, because I'll be run out of town, you know? Yeah, they got an abandoned car up there with no plates, and they got storage, that's their storage car, I guess.
Well, is it anonymous if they call in and talk to you?
They can remain anonymous for sure. Yeah, it just puts them on our radar, and then we go back and we inspect it. We don't ever just write a letter that says, you know, Wayne White said your yard is in terrible shape. We go there and say your yard has these issues, these are the ordinances that it violates, and then we keep a log and keep following up on it.
Okay.
And especially if it's like in a car that's not being used and so on, we do have very specific ordinances about those,
Yeah.
especially if they're not licensed and everything. And some of those, but again, that's a good thing to, so, because you don't know every vehicle in town until, you know. But if somebody notices it's been sitting there for 6 months doing nothing, you know,
Yeah.
that, it's good to report that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later, Stan.
Okay.
No,
Dan,
they pretty much covered everything. The only, well, I guess one other thing I was kind of have concerns about is that 603 house is, there's a lot of people, it's like a revolving door. There's constantly cars there. There's always 6 to 8 cars parked out there, and they're not always the same, and I just have concerns about what is possibly going on, you know, so.
Is it multifamily, and can it be multifamily there? You know, it seems like there's 4 families.
Yeah,
Probably
there's definitely more than that.
Maybe that doesn't matter, huh?
well, it's zoned for,
Residential.
I don't know how many families, I know you can only have so many residences within the thing, but we can obviously check on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a moneymaker for whoever owns the house, 2 ladies that own the house. They've got a lot of different folks living there. And now they've expanded over into the house across from Mark and Mary Doty, a little brick place on the corner. Some of them have moved over there, so it's just,
Drive up Second Avenue.
yeah, Lynn just suggested drive up Second Avenue and look at the blue house and drive down and look at Nona's disrepair on the roof. It's easy to forget about us because we're quiet up there
On a dead end.
on a dead end and nobody drives by, but, you know, geez, I want to pay more taxes, hell, I don't care, as long as, you know, it's worth it. But it's like, gosh, right now I could call the local assessor and say, hey, come up to my house and honestly look at that and say that house next to me isn't a detriment affecting, you know, the fair market value of my property. And so, anyway.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak up?
No, I think everybody else is, Neil, did you want that?
No, he already covered it with the cars. We covered it, okay.
Cars, yeah.
And what we'll do is, staff will take a look at each one of these situations, and if there's anything else, if you could get the information, if you can get it to the city administrator or to Stan, you know, one way or the other, on other things, and then we'll do that. As far as the water situation, is there a water leak there?
No, the leak, they abandoned their house and they shut the heat off, and the plumbing inside their home busted and filled their basement up with water. So there was actually no city water leak up there. Their basement filled up with water, and I'm assuming if there's as much garbage in the basement that people are saying there is, it didn't go down the drain, it just seeped out the windows in the foundation of their building and found its way to the neighbors. So it was not a city issue, which we didn't know nothing about until they got a water bill for hundreds of thousands of gallons that went through their water meter, and then we went up there and shut their water off, and the leak essentially stopped.
Yeah,
So
and frankly, adding on to that, so yeah, I met with the Colsons, haven't had it been the year after.
About a year ago, yeah.
Yeah, so they came in, they were talking about their issues, I said, wait a minute, when was that happening? And so I went back and looked at the records and it coincided. So again, we had no knowledge that there was water coming out of that house
Yeah.
at all.
And we might, I might have misunderstood you and thought it was like a main break, but it could have been whatever in the house.
It was
It's just that it would never stop, and you're like, what the hell's going on here?
yeah, the plumbing in their home essentially froze and busted and filled their basement up, and when we have no knowledge of that.
Frankly, that's all our speculation, because we don't know for sure.
Yeah, we never got in the house to even verify that, but all we did was shut their curb stop off outside and the leak stopped.
Yeah,
So, was it in the home? Did the water pipe between their home? Well, it had to be in their home because it went through the water meter, so I know for a fact it was in their home. So whatever busted, something busted in their home after the water meter, filled their basement up, and then seeped towards your guys' home.
Yeah.
And we would have no way of knowing that until we read the water meters.
And there's a few things here we'll probably follow up with the health department.
That's why I was gonna ask that question. What did they say? What did Heidi Stewart say?
What did the health department?
We had a couple times where she didn't call us back.
Okay.
So then I ended up calling Tessa King, who got Heidi to act on it a little bit, and then she's been pretty responsive like this last time. And she just said that, I think she kind of said that it's sort of like Bubba's, where you have to wait a certain amount of time before the county will step in and take control. And I'm forgetting, did she say anything else?
If I can add, we talked about it just the other day. Probably the main thing in the health department is nobody's trying to live there. I mean,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
clearly uninhabitable,
Yeah.
and there's no way the health department will let someone live in there, but nobody's trying at the moment.
So we're just waiting for the process to go, for the number of time to go by to be able to
Yeah.
foreclose on.
And then there's some pieces that we can do legally as well, but they take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that owner is gonna be given months to rectify situations that frankly, I think it's fair to say we all know that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So until the county probably takes that property, I don't know what happens there.
So if
And
no one
who's
has
got-
passed away, does that automatically go to Carrie, your daughter? Is that-
Frankly, we don't even know that. She's been the one, and Heidi said just recently that she spoke with the daughter, Miss Clifton. Our assumption is that the house is in her name.
So I wonder who's the unfortunate soul that has to go in and determine the amount of damage that, you know.
Building inspector, health inspector, something to
Yeah.
that effect.
But we'll follow up with the health department also.
Okay.
With Heidi and follow up with that, okay? Any other things from the public?
No, thank you for all you
Thank
guys
you
do.
so
Thanks,
much.
Jessica.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Tom, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Are there any other public comments?
The swim club's out here now too.
Well, we actually have them,
Are they on
They're
the
on the
agenda?
agenda, yeah,
they're probably down administration.
yeah, because we have them.
We don't have any scheduled appearances. Move on to the consent agenda. The following matters may be acted upon by the city council utilizing a single vote. Individual items which any member wishes to address in greater detail as a separate item on the regular agenda may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any council member. We have the minutes from the regular city council meeting for March 10th, 2021. Bartender's license for McKenna J. King for Durand C-Store and Hardware, and Logan B. Waller for the Cobblestone Inn and Suites.
Everything's fine.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Next, we move on to a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is for a combination Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage license for the Kingfisher LLC, owner Rebecca Bolger and Gary Egger, located at 214 West Main Street. Can you explain why, because I know they were closed because of COVID, and why we're doing this now?
She just brought in the application a couple weeks ago. They're looking to open April 15th. They've been closed because of COVID, and they were gonna wait for COVID to calm down and the spring flooding to be done, and then they wanted to open. But she just stopped in and said April 15th is their guesstimate date of opening. So
And again, so, yeah, basically, we're saying the liquor license that they would have applied for back last June, they just never did because they were closed because of COVID. They're gonna reopen, so. Okay, I hereby declare this public hearing open. If there's anybody who would like to speak for or against this, please take the floor and identify yourself for the record. Again, are there any public comments for this combination Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage license? Hearing none, I hereby declare this public hearing closed. Next, we'll move on to the business agenda. Mayor's report, a couple things to talk about. We are in a situation that there is an opening on the library board. And then also, where time for reappointments will be coming up here in April anyway. But if anybody knows of anybody who might be interested, pass the word along to me and I'll see. But if anybody's interested, but again, we do have an opening on the library board. Just remind everybody that the spring election is coming up. It's good to hear from the city clerk that it looks like we have enough election workers. A number of the folks that didn't work the last few elections have now been vaccinated and they're ready to work. So it looks like we're pretty good shape coming up for the spring election, which is on the 6th of April. And one other thing to mention, talk a little bit about Fun Fest, understand there was an announcement on Facebook and so on that the Fun Fest was not going to take place. I sort of hear that.
What is
Sir.
that?
Smoke alarm in sunny skies.
Okay. I hate to hear that about the Fun Fest. I know there's still some conversations that, I don't know, I got the impression it was more of a manpower situation, but
I don't know much yet, so I'm gonna dig in a little deeper.
digging a little deeper in exactly what, I did talk to another member of the Blues on the Chippewa group. Sounds like they're on for an event coming up in the first weekend in August. Probably, maybe it'll slim down, maybe a couple-day event instead of a 3-day event, is what they were talking about. But obviously, we want to try to get back to enough of these summer activities as possible.
Is there anything we can do on the Fun Fest end to basically state our innocence in this? Because everybody, I'm getting the finger pointed at me,
Yeah.
meaning us,
Well,
a lot.
the one thing about it is the county health department has made, they have reviewed the event and put it down that there is a moderate risk. But again, when you deal with health situations, that specifically, I don't think that the city would be happy to have the event.
True, like I said, but everybody assumes because it's canceled, that we canceled it.
Not true.
Not true.
No,
But everybody assumes that we do, and they're like, well, wait, when are you having Fun Fest? I'm like, it's not us. So I
No.
don't know if there's a statement we can make or something can go somewhere that,
Well, here at a public meeting, everybody will be able to hear it. No, would be, as far as, our thing is approving all the events and the permits and everything, and as far as that goes, there's nothing at this point, unless there's a major health crisis that happens in the next few months. I don't see that on the horizon. I think we're moving in the right direction with everything, so, but obviously if the group wants to have, about to have the event,
I have not canceled the carnival, so.
at this point here, so, okay.
And we have approved, we did approve a month ago the putt crawl as far as old container and
Sure.
all that, so.
And it's our understanding, event A went well, and B, that there was no major issues that came out of it, as far as we understand.
My thought on the carnival was, if the Fun Fest didn't have enough people, that maybe we would find another nonprofit to do the carnival. They're coming anyway. So
We can continue to work on it.
possibly other angles, so we'll see. I'll talk to some people, see what I can do, but.
Okay, that's all I've got. Are there any questions? Hearing none? Nothing on the pulled off the consent agenda. Next, we'll have an update on the swim club from Jan Cartman and Gary Sweeney. Jan and Gary out there?
We are.
Come on in.
Working out there.
Russ, we'll take the back row here.
No, you're good right here, stand up.
No, you can stand right up front. We don't.
You need a chair though?
But if you want to go sit after you're done talking, yeah, that's it. We'll let you do that.
I'm gonna, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I'll play the old man card.
That's okay.
Well, I think I'm gonna it's Jan and Gary, if you don't recognize us with the masks on. I think I'm gonna let Jan lead off here.
It has been a while since we came to see you due to the pause that we all had. So we thought it was important that we come back and say, okay, here is what we have been doing and what's been going on, and I think get a feel for where you feel things are and where we feel things are at the time, so we're all kind of wanting to stay on the same page, which we know was an issue a few years ago. So we don't want that to happen again. So that's where we are, is wanting to give you kind of a report of where we are. The other thing, which is the thing I think we want to talk about first of all, is that the swim club does have an outstanding bill with the city, and that was from 2019 for swimming lessons. I don't know, we want to say some things that, and I think you know this too, some things that happened in the past were not necessarily what the group that's involved now wanted to happen, that sort of thing.
They had a fire call.
And it's right down the block.
Our intention, and as it had a few other years, was to help people who couldn't afford to pay swimming lessons, to give them some help in paying those lessons. Well, it turned out somehow in 2019, when the doors opened, the floodgates opened or something, and somehow the people from the swim club who were there just said, okay, we're paying for everybody. And it was like, whoa, that wasn't the intent of what we had planned on doing. So consequently, and we asked a number of times to get a bill, and it took a while for that to happen. And then we were sort of in shock by how much actually was there. It was $4,848, I believe, is the amount. So we had committed to saying we would pay for swim lessons, but we also feel we're trying to put every nickel that we can into the fund for the renovation of the pool. So if there's some way that we can make a deal, since we didn't even have a way, our intention, I guess the intention was after the bill turned out to be so big, do a fundraiser, pay the bill, and then that just sort of didn't happen, and we got off on the track of raising money for the renovation. So I don't know.
On that particular issue, sometime in the next month, there's going to be a finance committee meeting, finance and personnel, correct?
Correct.
If you want us to discuss it, Councilmember Schofield is chairman. We'll put that on the agenda. Is that okay with you?
Okay.
We'll put it on for discussion at that finance. We don't have a date set, by the way, but we probably will the next month, I think, because there's some other things.
Okay, if
We'll put that on that agenda, okay?
you can let us know when that's going to happen.
Yes, yeah. We'll make sure you know.
Okay, so as I say, we committed to it, but
Yeah.
we're sort
It's
of.
being not an agenda item tonight, I just said that we'll put it on the committee but again, I know that we're meeting, so. That's what we'll do, okay?
Okay, so, Gary, do you want to start
Sure.
with here with where we are?
So what we've been doing for the last couple of years, we haven't been able to be over here, of course, with this pandemic. We've been meeting on Zoom every month. And through the social media, the television, with Brian on the radio, we use visual signage like that you saw at the swimming pool. We had a couple of mailing campaigns. We did a mailing campaign to all of the moms and the dads, or the guardians, I should say, of the children that had swimming lessons between 2017 and 2019. I had a list that the city provided for me, and I mailed out over 100 letters to these people in a mailing campaign. And I think the mayor, Pat, I gave you a letter of that about the lessons. If you want to copy that off and give it to the councilman, or else I can do it too. But anyway, we had that for a mailing campaign, and then we've had personal contacts with several businesses, not only in the Chippewa Valley, but we're spreading out a whole lot farther than that. And the gals started a donation jar thing in these businesses, and that's proved to bring in a few bucks here and there.
And you may have seen those, they're in most all of the stores. And
Right, so those are the things that we're trying to keep this project alive in the community with all the other things going on.
we have had a couple of events. We did have the virtual 5K, which the Advent Health and Brittany McMahon were instrumental in helping us with the t-shirts and helping to sponsor that. We also, Jen Dahl and Gary and Rose Sweeney made porch pots, which we sold, so that was another, and we're hoping to have some other fundraising events to come along. We used the TV channel, community channel, with some advertising on that. Also, the Wedge has had articles, and we've had some of the donors we've had pictures in the paper, and in fact, we've been exploring everything we possibly can think of to find. I think we're at the point of, and of wanting to, once we can hopefully get a few big donations, the ball will start rolling and we'll see more come in that way.
Now, our total today, state, our total through pledges and donations, cash donations and that type of thing, and our fundraisers, are $832,043. That's where we are today. That's through pledges, and obviously you guys in the city, you're our big pledger. I'm using that $500,000 that was pledged here for the community. So that's where we're at, and I think it was 2018 that the last that I talked to the engineering company, they were at what, 2.5 million, Pat?
2.6.
2.6. So,
And we have recently talked to them again to maintain contact. We haven't updated anything at this point, but we have had contact with them.
right. And I reached out to Pat the other day because I was kind of interested in, Russ, how your bid was going to come in up here on Laneville, you know, and you said it came in pretty close to budget. But I am going to tell you right now, I'm awful worried that 2.6 isn't going to cut it with the cost of everything going up. I just talked to an engineer friend of mine today, and they bid a sewer plant in Baldwin, and it came $3 million over. So, and he told me that this has all happened in the last month and a half, this big inflationary push. So I don't have any good news there, guys. But one thing that Jan and I and the swim club, as we meet every month on Zoom, we were wondering if the city could help us through the help of Cedar Corp, that maybe we can investigate if there are some type of a grant program out there for recreational or swimming. I've looked on the internet, Jan has, and we've got a couple other people on our outfit that are doing it too. Haven't been able to come up with anything, but I talked to the engineering department in River Falls, and in River Falls, they got a grant from somebody that they built a storm shelter there at their park, at Glen Park, and that's where their swimming pool is, outdoor one. And in that grant, they built this, on the top is where people can have a picnic, and underneath there is where the storm shelters for a tornado for people to go. And then also part of that grant, he said, they did some fencing and that type of thing by their swimming pool. So I was just wondering if Cedar Corporation and the city's willing to have Cedar, I know it costs money to look into this, but if their grant people at Cedar would know, you know, off the top of their head, is there a shot at doing something like this? I mean, up there at Tarrant Park, a storm shelter with our facility at Bauer Field and our facility that's going to be down there at the softball field. You know, what if a storm did come up in May or April or something, and they're playing softball or something up there? At least they'd have a place to go, you know. So maybe that's a long shot, Russ. I don't know. You know, it's up to the city.
Yeah, we can definitely look into it. And it doesn't cost the city anything for Cedar Court to look into potential grants.
Is there any legalities as far as the city using their engineer to work with an organization outside?
No, we would hire.
The grant would actually be through the city, it would have to be.
Yeah.
If it's a
It would still-
government
it would-
grant.
I'm just talking about a legality as far as the city doing this with a private organization for few.
No, it'd be our project. Yeah, it'd be, if we did it, so.
Like I said, it doesn't
And
cost us
again, we can
anything
discuss
to
it.
research it.
We can discuss it.
You know, like Gary, I know storm shelters, you know, some of those are covered under FEMA grants. You know, there's the DNR park stewardship towards park buildings and things like that. Per se, we've never been able to find anything to go towards a swimming pool type structure, but there are different types of park related grants and things like that for other type of buildings
Right.
in your park.
But using the River Falls analogy, they had this I was in there, I went in there and looked at it. It's a real nice place where people could have a picnic or whatever doings.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, heck, we could use one corner of that for our concession stand for the pool. So,
And again, we'll talk about it,
Yeah.
as far as getting Cedar Park, we can do that, yeah.
I guess we wonder if is there something that you think we need to be doing more than what we're doing, or, you know?
In the next few weeks, we're gonna have some more conversations. As I said, we already contacted the pool company, our engineering firm, to see where we were at, and so on and so forth. Nothing tonight, but again, we'll, as far as what we can do, we can go ahead and, talk about that. So nothing specifically tonight. By the way, also Janet, I'd like to thank you and your family for your contribution. I think it's obviously very nice. I think you obviously shows you and your family's commitment.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about it.
And we do, and obviously appreciate that. But at this point here, there will be some more conversations coming up in the next, the one thing about it too, as we had mentioned tonight, we'll make the decision on our contracts for the Plainville project. That'll give us a little bit of closer picture on our financing situation.
understood.
And so it's coming into focus.
Yeah, and I know that you have talked about perhaps increasing the fees, and I don't think we see a difficulty with that. In fact, I think a lot of people in our group have said, oh, why hasn't it happened sooner, So I don't think that's not something that we feel about. The other thing is we are trying to get, and one of the ways we hopefully could avoid kind of the swimming lesson snafu that we had before, we are trying to get members for the Durand Swim Club. Just the purpose of it would be that we could help to support with money we get in from a membership. This would be different from the fundraising. This would support swimming lessons. It would support WSI training for kids, which we have helped to fund that before as well. And also some of the administrative costs that we have. And so I have some forms to fill out if you'd like to become a member of the Durand Swim Club.
You could give them to Angie, please, and she'll get them distributed to everybody on the council.
Yeah. The other thing is we did have a grant, 2 grants actually, that were written last year. One was through Xcel Energy and the other one through Pierce Pepin, which amount to $1,500, which was to be used for WSI training and defraying the cost of swim lessons. I was in contact with both of them, and given the fact the pool didn't open, they agreed we could keep the money and then use it this year to put toward that. So we do have a little bit of a fund for that. And so I guess we would ask that, I'm assuming that kids will be hopefully picking up applications for working at the pool.
Well, this year we have, our director has agreed to come back.
Right.
And usually since he works at the school, it comes in handy because that's where most of our staff comes from. And I don't know if we've had contact as far as getting out, and he's usually a recruiter for us to get people. And we obviously haven't heard anything about training yet.
Yes.
But that's
we
the
do
other thing,
have
we need to
some
obviously
funds.
get the training through the Red Cross.
So we have some funds available that we are more than willing to give for the WSI training if they need it.
And our intention is that it will go toward swimming lessons too.
What's left over
Yeah.
from the WSI?
Well, I think, either way, yeah. So, that's where we are with those.
If we do the swimming lessons thing again, there's gonna be a whole lot more restrictions on it than open free-for-all, let me tell you. So,
Okay, anything else or any other questions?
No.
Just quick clarification, okay. So Gary, you said 843,000, clearly that includes the city's 500, the school's 275. So you've raised $68,000. Is that a fair statement?
The number is 832.
I'm sorry.
832,043. That's pledges, Scott, and collections.
So about 57,000.
Yes.
Now, I hate to tell you, I had a different number, Gary.
Well,
Ballpark's good enough.
no, I mean, we want to be a little accurate, you know. We got 500,000 in support from the city of Durand and 275,000 in support of the Durand School District. Then the rest of that is donations.
Okay, any other questions?
Now, I get a lot of feedback from the community, and I'll tell you this now, that sometimes they tell me, well, you know, I think the city should be doing more than what they're doing, and I'm saying, hey, things are tight all the way around. I says, they've already committed 500, and I says, they're already committing to the operation of the thing. So, I try to quell that, you know, but we only got so many resources here, you know, and Mark, you and I had a conversation, but we're gonna always get that, so I want you to know that I'm still in your corner, guys, so. And, if we can do anything, please tell us, you know, we'll help you. Matt's back here from the, what's the schedule, do you think, for the pool? When are you gonna start working on it? Like, middle of May, or?
No, as part of my report tonight, the lifeguard ads are actually be in the paper. If you read it tonight, you'll see it, but it'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the plan is here about the 19th-ish, that week of April. We're gonna go up there, we're gonna start pumping it out, we're gonna start filling it, and then we're gonna run it, for that week, that last week in, I gotta look at the right calendar, the last week in April. So I'm hoping to know for sure by May 1st if we have any issues.
Okay.
If we do have issues, then that gives us a couple weeks in May to potentially discuss anything that may or may not need to happen.
Okay, fair enough. But I know what to
Sounds
tell
good.
people.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you someday on the street.
Next, move on to administrator's report.
To kind of tie in before we do these folks leave, my thought was to have a finance meeting before the next council meeting. So that'd be the 14th of April. The items for that, basically, we'll include this one, but the other pieces were, so again, finance personnel. So we do have some personnel issues to mop up as part of the employee manual that we'll be presenting. The other piece that I wanted to discuss, at least start there, is talk a little bit more about what we know about the American Rescue Plan Act that was just recently passed. We have gotten some guidance from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Stan listened in on basically a Zoom meeting they had the other day, and I gathered some items that they put out afterwards. At this point, it seems pretty clear that the city of Durand has been allocated about $178,000. In comparison to some others, town of Durand was 70, right? Correct, Stan? And Pepin County, I believe, about 1.4 million. At this point, I mean, they made it very clear that here's some categories that it would fall into. Clearly, anything that in respect to coronavirus and things of that nature, and the negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small business, nonprofits, things of that nature, is certainly part of that. And there's a piece in here about basically eligible workers and basically getting paid a little bit more for those doing essential work. I'm going to gloss over that one again because I don't see myself probably recommending that to you folks. Probably our biggest piece though, and you've heard, I've talked about this a little bit, any reduction in revenues. The first round of COVID money that we got only dealt with expenditures. This deals with revenues. I think it's fair to say that all counties in Wisconsin saw reductions in sales tax. And so they would be able to basically replenish what they didn't take in for 2021 and part of 2020 as well on that piece. In our case, it was much more limited. We saw, basically we had some provisions from the Public Service Commission that we couldn't charge, some rate increase or not rate increases, but penalties that we basically also decided as a council that for on the sewer side we wouldn't do as well. We did defer some loan payments, so we saw some less revenues for that. And then ambulance did see some reductions in revenue because we couldn't charge for COVID calls. So that might help me. That would be an option again. I'm just throwing out options. This is something I think that we want to talk about at the finance committee coming up. Probably our biggest piece though, and for all cities that are involved, basically all we use is to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. Clearly, water, sewer is something, townships, villages can, towns not, and counties either, but clearly for cities, it's fair to say Matt and I have already had some discussions, and we could have this money spent for you in probably an afternoon.
We gotta qualify.
You're right, yeah. Frankly, the whole RBC that replace it, that would qualify. It probably did chew up basically the entire 178,000 were allocated, but that's an option. But at this point, I guess I would get you thinking, if there are things in the city that you wanted to see happen, maybe there's some some pennies from heaven here. Let's start talking about those. And we'll start talking about it again at the finance committee on the 14th of April. But that's what we know to this point. We know there's going to be a lot more information out there. I know one of the things that come up, and Stan heard it on the meeting the other day. Nonprofits, basically municipalities, municipalities, counties, cities, villages have the ability to pass money to nonprofits for projects they have, and not just COVID related. Basically, it's kind of sounding like a wide variety of items. I think there's some potential even for the pool group here. Again, I'm not necessarily suggesting that's what we do, but they could frankly go to maybe some of the other townships that will be benefited from the pool and perhaps that's, or the county. So these are things that we can all continue to talk about, and but fair to say there's going to be a lot more discussions on this whole piece, and certainly from that side. I guess one thing I didn't talk about, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot of strings attached. Sounds like we're going to get our first basically half payment probably within the next 60 days. And then probably in another year, but we have until 2024 to spend this money as well. So, that's basically what we know at this point. And get a lot more to come. Other than that, I don't think I have all this place my note here for a second, but yeah, clearly on the meeting piece. But otherwise, that's all I have for tonight.
Is it, and we'll put that on the finance committee for discussion. Okay, anything else?
No.
Any questions for the city administrator? Hearing none, we'll move on. Discussion, possible action regarding the combination Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage license for the Kingfisher LLC, owner Rebecca Bolger and Gary Edgar, located at 214 West Main Street. Again, we had a public hearing concerning the matter earlier in the meeting. Would somebody like to make a motion concerning this license?
I'll make a motion, we approve the liquor license for the Kingfisher.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage license. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion's agreed to. Next, we have discussion, possible action regarding modifications to the joint agreement with the Durand, Arkansas School District and the Duran Public Library. It's included in your packet. If you'd like to go ahead and...
Just a quick summary of this. So I didn't put it in my memo. I probably should have put it in my memo, but I'm sure you guys figured it out. But basically, all the highlighted pieces are updates to the agenda. There's one small area that was basically removed only because it had no relevance to this contract anymore. I guess the other piece of why this contract was kind of looked at again, and Mark as representative on the library board, you can sort of chime in as well. So basically, when there were discussions about joining the Moore system, that the library board ultimately decided, there were some pieces in here that basically some processes and some steps that were kind of overlooked from the standpoint of not having looked at this contract for a while. So basically, this contract kind of got pulled out of the files. And clearly, when both sides, the school district and the library board, were looking through it, there were areas that needed to be updated. And I think that's that fair statement, Mark, that then... There were, yeah. Yeah, so then there was basically a subcommittee created at the library board to sit down with the schools, library, and by their committee as well. And this is what they came up with. I don't think there's anything too controversial in here. There's clearly a big section at the end that I'm just going to call kind of the legal CYA boilerplate that the school wanted to add. And again, our attorneys will look at it, they're fine with it. I think at this point, the library board has not acted on it, but I talked to Ms. Ellsner today, and clearly it's gonna be on their next agenda after, if you want, we approve it tonight, and the school district has already approved it. Otherwise, that's smart, if there's anything else on your data.
We meet April 12th.
Any questions on this agreement? The one thing that is a little bit different is the previous was a 10-year, this is a 5-year, correct?
Yes. And more than anything, I think that was kind of a force to look at it, so to speak, every several years.
Any questions? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement between the Durand, Arkansas School Board and City of Durand.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, since it's an agreement, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartong.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Reisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
All 6 in favor.
Motion's agreed to. The agreement is approved. Next, we move on to the police department. Chief Ridgway.
I just have a couple of things. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing department training in the city-owned house next to the fire hall at 6 o'clock. We're going to put some signs up around the house that say police training in progress, just so people know what we're doing over there. So we'll be doing that, which we're going to start in the fire hall and then go into the house with different scenarios and including things. So we'll be working on that tomorrow night. I worked with Director Miller from the ambulance service on our Narcan training. That's the drug that you use for fentanyl overdoses. We have a video that we're going to use to show the officers, and then Director Miller is going to do just kind of the final training with the officers. He worked with the medical director for the ambulance to get approval for him to conduct those trainings for us as a department. So when we get new officers in, we'll be able to work with Mike's schedule and just send them over to see Mike, and after they watch the video, he'll be able to do kind of the final training on that. So it was nice to work with the ambulance and for him to get approval for us to help provide that training for us. And I've just been busy. We've got a part-time opening that we've had for a little while, but we haven't really needed it because the other main 2 part-timers have been working a lot of hours for us, but I foresee some openings there in the future, so been working on that. Got turned down from one candidate today that got a full-time job and needed the benefits and didn't think he could provide the time to us. So called another candidate, so we'll see. Hopefully we can get that filled soon so we don't have any scheduling issues with that. And then the rest of the stuff that I have is on the closed session, so I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for the police department? Okay. Next, fire department, anything else?
No, the only thing I thought to mention, and man, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you remember when the rural meeting is? I think that comes up before our next meeting. And I know they specifically put it on a Tuesday night, so it was Tuesday or Thursday.
April 27th.
27th, okay. So that is after our next meeting, but,
Okay,
so I will make sure I note that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Anything from the ambulance?
No, nothing from me.
Okay. Engineers report, Russ?
Engineer item, all mine are on your agenda items 3 through 7. I don't have anything else to report other than the items that are on your agenda tonight.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to a monthly update, Public Works Utilities, Superintendent Gillis.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, the lifeguard ads will be in the pool. They're due for the lifeguards ads for the pool will be in the paper tomorrow. We're running until the 16th of April at 4:30 to have them here at City Hall, which gives us gives us a month or so to make sure we got enough guards. Like I said, we're planning on cleaning out the pool probably around that 19th of April. Usually takes about a week to get things up and running, and then the following week we'll fill it. So hopefully by May 1st I can have if fall is well, the last council meeting in April, I'll have somewhat of an update, but we'll know by May 1st if there's any issues that need to be brought back to council that we can possibly rectify before opening of pool season. The pool season, just so everybody knows, we never open until, we never physically open the pool until school's out, which is usually that, 3rd to 6th of June. So we got basically the month of May to get things up and running. The guys are spending a lot of time on the Laneville project, locating utilities. We spent about 3-4 days up there getting all that located. The gas company's tentatively scheduled to start on various of that project Monday. So the street sweeper has been out. We had it out Monday. Wanted to get a quick round in before the rain. We pretty much did get all of the town swept once except for the downtown area here. The sweeper will be back out there on Friday. We'll have the entire town went through once. We are not sweeping the 3rd Avenue Laneville area. If anybody's asking, we're not gonna waste our time to sweep that up when we're gonna be tearing it up here in the next 3 to 4 weeks here. So the RBC is scheduled to arrive around the 18th of June. We are on schedule. That the 20 weeks would have been the week before the 18th, but they didn't get into production they were about a week short there getting into production. So I talked to them. That should be scheduled to be shipped and arriving here around the 18th of June. So other than that, everything in Public Works is running smoothly except for the items we have coming up next year.
I'm assuming all the RBC comes in a bunch of pieces.
No, actually it comes fully assembled. All we gotta do
Really?
is pick it off the trailer and set it in the hole.
Okay.
So the RBC itself, the whole shaft and all the media comes fully assembled. We basically got to put the bearing pillow blocks, bolt them on, pick it off, set it on, bolt that on, and the only thing we really got to do is put the chain and sprocket and the gearbox back together. So it'll still be a couple of, that's a lot easier said than done. It ain't gonna happen in a few hours by any means, but yeah. So it isn't like we got to get the shaft and then we got to slide all the media on and bolt that all together. So it pretty much comes put together, ready to go in the hole.
Anything else in that?
No, I'm good unless you got any questions.
How's the truck?
We had a new truck out on the last snowstorm. We had a little minor wiring issue. Company took it back on Wednesday, fixed it up, and brought it back. So everything seemed to be working good. The Hill Tip company is sending a representative down tomorrow to do a full-fledged training on the operations, on the controls, and the complete operations of that. So the guys will be in tomorrow with the rep for a couple hours going through the nuts and the bolts and the actual operations on that. So we got a crash course so that we could use it. But the rep from Kentucky is actually going to be here tomorrow to go through the whole thing.
I imagine that's all included in the initial price.
Yep, no cost to us.
And that one did my street. Boy, that baby's lit up like I said.
It is, yep. Gotta have 360, did you see it? From every angle?
Yeah, it's lit up. Any questions for public utilities? Public Works and Utilities? If not, we'll move on to the agenda items. Discussion possible action regarding the 3rd Avenue East Reconstruction bid award. Russ?
Yes, good evening. Just a quick summary. Remember both of these projects we're talking about that we bid. We promised that we'd get it out for bid at the end of February, which we did. Was put out and we opened bids for both projects on March 15th here at City Hall. 3rd Ave East was at 2 o'clock and Lingle Dryer was at 3 o'clock. And that was set up that way that we're hoping that we'd get the same contractor on all projects, or when the bidders came in and bid on the 2 o'clock project, if they didn't get the 2 o'clock project, they had an hour or 45 minutes to go back out and tweak their bids for the 3 o'clock bid. And it actually, our strategy worked out very well. We did receive a lot of activity and interest of both projects, a lot of bidders.
just about all of them, except a couple submitted bids that pulled bids from our Quest electronic bidding. So the first one on your agenda is 3rd Avenue East Reconstruction. And you have in your packets, my Cedar Fork typical cover letter, and the bid tabulation results. So again, at this one, we opened here at a public bid opening on March 15th at 2 p.m. We had 5 bidders. I think we had 8 contractors that took out plan sets and 5 submitted and we received bids. They ranged in the range of low bid of $1,205,262 to $1,343,060.20. The low bid, as I mentioned in my cover letter, unfortunately, they did acknowledge receipt of addendum number 2. We had 2 addendums for the project. One were some plan sheet information that erroneously got deleted when we went from our CAD drawings to our PDF, so that was addendum 1. Addendum 2 was a very important addendum. With this being CDBG and federal wage rates, CDBG changes their wage rates once a week on Friday. So on that Friday, we got our new wage rates, so we had to send those out immediately on Friday as an addendum. And that's the federal wage rates and benefits and everything that the bidders have to acknowledge receipt and include in their bid when they determine their bid numbers that they submit. We went back through our electronic bidding process. So pretty much every consultant it's called Quest CDN. So we post it on that site. Bidders download it electronically. They pay a fee. They download the drawings, the bid documents, any addendums that go out. We can see in our system when they received it, into their email system, if they opened it and downloaded, so forth. And it was strange that with the low bidder, when he submitted his bid, he did acknowledge addendum number 2. But in our system, he acknowledged receipt of addendum number 2, downloading it. He didn't acknowledge in his bid, but he didn't download and didn't acknowledge through his system addendum 1, which he did acknowledge in the bid, so it was flip-flopped. So it was unfortunately kind of messed up. So the instructions to bidders are real detailed and so forth. They follow a standard process. So when that happens, it's considered of a non-responsive bid. So we declared, unfortunately, that the low bidder was a non-responsive bid because they didn't acknowledge the addendum. I did have discussions with the low bidder, totally acknowledged that he messed it up somehow, so he's okay with that. There's not an issue there at all. Talked to him about it, and he emailed me and called me immediately after. The second low bid was received from A1 Excavating out of Bloomer in the amount of $1,229,783.35. And you can see how close the first and second bidder, and when we talk about the other project, the same bidders are really close. So over $1 million project and really close. And then if you look at the bid tabulation results with all the other bidders, pretty good spread, between low to high. So that tells us that, between the 2 low bidders and the other bidders, in our opinion, you did receive a competitive bid for the project. Our estimate was about 1.427 million. So good news, it did come in under budget. We have bid a couple other projects around the same time, municipal work. We saw the same thing on projects we bid already this year. They all came in a couple $100,000 under budget. So a lot different than building projects that are coming in over budget. So, but again, our strategy work that we talked about, get your bids out early, February, March, get it out there before contractors get busy. In my opinion, I'm convinced if you were a month or 2 later, you'd probably be right at budget or over budget because there's a lot of work out there. Actually, 1 week before we had the bid opening for this project, we heard from contractors on a Thursday, there were 16 projects just in northwest Wisconsin that were being bid, so contractors were scrambling. They had 16 projects all on one day, so a lot of work out there. So our strategy and get anything out early definitely worked. So we're recommending that the city council consider awarding the 3rd Avenue East Reconstruction Project contract amount of $1,229,783.35 to A1 Excavating. And again, typically contingent upon receipt of their proof of bonding, insurance certificates, and CDBG requirements. That'll open up to any questions that the council may have regarding 3rd Avenue East
The
project.
grant we received was $1 million, correct?
Correct.
The grant we received was 66% up to
Okay,
$1
that's what I was looking
million.
for, so that's gonna change a little bit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. With our estimate, you were right at getting the $1 million if it came in right at budget.
So you're only gonna get 66% of 1.229.
Good question.
Well, it's not quite a one-for-one savings, but it's, yeah, any savings is good.
Right.
So the federal government's gonna save a little money on this one as well.
Right.
And just to, since I'm a worrywart about certain things, if we approve this tonight and things get moving, what is our schedule to get the financing in place?
Scheduled the financing, we'll finalize everything with Ayers once this is approved. Again, the final numbers. I would anticipate that we're gonna see this money by probably, what, July-ish, maybe into August.
Okay, the interest rates are low right now?
Yes.
I mean, the quicker we do it, is that any better?
I don't think, again, talking to Ayers, the market is strong for us. So whether it's a month or two, it's
It's not gonna make,
no.
not gonna be an issue.
I guess money's cheap all over at the moment. And municipal bonds are always, when mortgage rates are as low as they are, municipal bonds are even being low, so. We're gonna be fine there.
Okay, so we're talking about the 3rd Avenue East Reconstruction bid, which of course is part of the Community Development Block Grant program we're using. Any more discussion on either the bidders, anything for us, or that, and again, everything's been reviewed, so.
I'll make a motion, we approve the bid with A1 Excavating for the amount of $1,229,783.35.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. It's on the floor for any more discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartung.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
All 6 in favor.
Motion's agreed to. Next, we'll have discussion, possible action regarding the Langeville Avenue and Dryer Street reconstruction and water main loop contract, number 1 and number 2. Russ, if you could explain each one, please.
Yes. Again, this bid followed the 3rd Ave bid on March 15th, 3 p.m. City of Durand had a public bid opening for East Langeville Avenue reconstruction, Dryer Street reconstruction, and the Dryer Street water main loop project. We received 5 bids for the contract 1. So you remember Langeville Avenue, with that being Pepin County Highway F. Pepin County Highway, if it's their highway, is doing the pavement removal and then all the hot mix asphalt replacement work.
including the city's share of the project. So contract one included all the work except for the work on Laneville that's being done by Pepin County separately. Contract number two includes the hot mix asphalt for Dryer Lane. The reason why we separated it out, since Pepin County Highway is going to be paving County F, we thought it was a good idea, and they were very interested in submitting a quote for the hot mix asphalt for Dryer Street, including the driveways. So contract one, again, East Laneville, Dryer, water main loop. Contract two, just a hot mix asphalt for Dryer. And then in our bid, we had contract three, which would be 1+2, just in case some of the bidders with their paving contractor, if they came in less than Pepin County Highway. So on contract one, bids range from $1,020,742.75 to $1,242,936.18. Bids for contract two, again, just the paving work on Dryer, range from a low of $19,252 to $27,770. Low bid for contract one was submitted from Skid Steer Guy, LLC of Mondovi, and contract two was Pepin County Highway Department. We've again attached bid tabulation results for the project, and like I said before, you can see how close the first and second bidder was again, and even, you know, the other three bidders provided very competitive bids for the city. So our opinion, again, we received very competitive bids. Skid Steer Guy LLC being the low bidder, like we have done in the past. I've worked with them on different types of projects. I haven't had any experience, nor has Cedar Corp, on a municipal project of this type or this size. So as is outlined in the instructions to bidders, on behalf of the city, we typically do our due diligence to request information from the low bidder in terms of their qualifications and so forth, and ability to do the project as bid. So what I did after the bid opening, I did contact Skid Steer Guy LLC, and actually their address is Mondovi, but their business is in Rock Hall, so they're a local contractor close to Durand. Like I said, I've had previous work with them, but never on municipal street projects. So I requested for them to typically provide me some of their information, you know, similar sized municipal street, utility projects, contact name, phone numbers, what other commitments they have this year in terms of project bid, you know, their ability to do a project of this size with anything else they've committed to, that they could meet the deadline and schedule, their crew experience, number of staff both for the project, and again, we wanted to confirm their ability to meet the substantial and final completion dates, which are in October, you know, which is very key for the project. And I did get back from Skid Steer Guy a listing of a number of projects. And what he concentrated on were a lot of deeper sanitary sewer projects, water projects, areas that he's done curb and gutter work, you know, he's done a lot of large site development work for terms of curb and gutter and gravel and all those things that go together. So he has done some successful work for the city of River Falls, city of Chippewa Falls, city of Eau Claire, and some other communities in the area. I did follow up with some of those communities, and they confirmed that he did do satisfactory work on their projects. that he's completed. And then I also, once he gave me that information, I did clarify with him that he felt comfortable with the schedule. I reminded him that, like on every municipal project, there's liquidated damages. On this project, due to the size, it's $1,485 per day, liquidated damages. If he misses the deadline date, you can enforce that. He's aware of that. He feels very comfortable with the schedule and with his crews. I did get information on his foreman or superintendent that's going to be on the project. That was good news. I wasn't aware that he's an ex-employee that worked for Haas Construction and also Hartman. Haas sons out of Thorpe. They've been around for a very long time, very large municipal utility contractor. So their foreman has a lot of experience doing municipal work, a lot of sanitary sewer, storm sewer, deeper sanitary sewer, street work. He confirmed that he's using Sampson Concrete for his curb and gutter and concrete driveways. We work with them as a subcontractor. So other than the curb and gutter and concrete work, he's planning to do all the work with his crew. I reminded him that, this is a large project with his other commitments. It looks like a good majority of his commitments will be done in the next month in May that he's already committed to. He told me that once he brings an underground crew in, that crew will stay on the project. I said, we don't want you bringing a crew in and then you've got other work and you move off and then the city sees no activity for weeks on end. And we want you to get in there and get the project done. He promises me to keep his crew in and get it done ahead of schedule is what he's proposing to do. So with that covers our due diligence, in terms of following up on the contractor. People who were here a few years back, you remember we had the same situation on the 3rd Ave West project with the culvert and the culvert installation going underneath the golf course fairway number 1. We had a bidder from West Salem, La Crosse area, we knew nothing about, did the same background due diligence, followed up on references, got their information, and they did fine work. Again, Mitch Horvath, he's the owner of Skid Steer Guy. His name is a little bit misleading. He's starting to call himself SSG. Very hard worker from the local area that started out, like it says in his name, with skid steers and started doing landscaping work and just started building his company like most people do with small companies. Started expanding and getting more and more work. A lot of his work, I was familiar working with him, has been on XL Energy Service Center projects in Phillips, Hudson, Eau Claire Black Avenue, Western Avenue. Those are big, large site development projects that have a lot of the similar construction in this project. The only negative thing is on those projects and some of the people is, again, my concern is staying on schedule, so forth. It's like most contractors, a lot of work out there. They tend to take on a little bit more that they can get done in the season, but that's just, part of the business. So he promises me it's not going to happen on this project. He feels comfortable with the schedule. He gave us some days, broke down his days in terms of his underground work and his street work, and with the completion date, if he can start right away in May after the contractor on the 3rd Avenue provides the sanitary sewer for him to connect it. He doesn't see a problem meeting the October substantial and final completion deadline dates.
So Russ, you don't see any additional challenges when we've got two contractors working on projects like this?
No. Again, we were hoping and came awful close to getting the same contractor for both projects. It's similar, on our end for coordination and so forth. It'd be a lot easier for one contractor, but I don't see that to be a problem. It's no different if you had the same contractor and they had 3 crews on the project. There's still coordination issues. You know, there will be things we'll be talking about at the pre-construction meeting throughout the project, you know, in terms of, it can't be in two of the same intersection areas where people can't get out of their homes, you know, and get through the project area and things like that. There'll be some of that coordination that'll be going on. You know, Matt mentioned earlier that the gas company's replacing all the gas lines on Third Ave East, Plainville and Dryer, so, but luckily, we got a hold of them early this winter with our plans, so they knew the project was coming. So like Matt said, they're gonna start next week on some of the gas line replacement work, so they can get in, get ahead of the contractor, because sometimes, my experience, that can be real challenging with some of the utility companies. If they have to do new lines and so forth, they can hold up our underground contractor. But they're gonna start getting really busy with all the work out there for municipal work, so then it's just a big ripple effect for the other utilities to do their work ahead of the contractor. But luckily, it looks like it's gonna work out nice with utility pole relocations, working with the local phone company and now the gas company getting in early for the project to get started. It's gonna be busy.
Okay. Any questions?
So you did get really good bids. I just want to hit real quick. You're probably wondering why there's such a big difference from the estimate to the bid. If you remember during design, once we were working with Pepin County, we looked at some different things for the city in Pepin County to get the cost down. So we reduced the asphalt thickness. Once we got soil borings, there was a contingency quantity for breaker stone or granite or material below the base course. We didn't need that, came out the project. When you took the sidewalk out, that was a sizable amount of the project, but there are other things tied to the sidewalk, such as earthwork, grading, restoration, that went hand in hand with that. Once we got into design, we were able to reduce some of our storm sewer pipe sizes that brought the cost down. Plus, you got into a very good competitive bidding environment. So, convinced if we were 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later, you'd probably see much higher bids with the amount of work coming out. So you got in early, got some contractors that wanted to get local work instead of traveling out here. That's all I have. Unless you have any other questions.
Any other questions concerning, we'll take these separately, of course. First we'll have the contract number 1, and that's specifically for the skid steer guy for that type of project. Are there any more discussion concerning that? If not, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve the bid with Skid Steer Guy LLC for $1,020,742.75.
Second.
Motion and second. On the floor for any more discussion? Comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartong.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
All in favor.
The second part of is bid number 2. It concerns the asphalt and it's with the Pepin County Highway Department. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve the contract with the Putnam County Highway Department for $19,252.
Second.
The motion and second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Hold it. Did I say roll call? Whoops. We'll go with the roll call, please.
I probably can't vote on this guy.
What?
I probably can't vote on this guy. I'd be an employee of Putnam County.
Yeah, I think you're okay.
If it was your department, if your department,
Exactly.
if your department, it'd be a different deal.
Okay.
Yep, roll call, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartong.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
All six in favor.
Motion is agreed to. Next, we have discussion of possible action regarding approval of the Forest Hill Cemetery certified survey maps. This was just in front of the Plan Commission earlier this evening. And again, this is bringing this whole process that we've been in for quite some time finally to an end. First, Russ, do you want to talk on the certified survey map?
Yes, just quick summary. Everyone recalls regular reports regarding this long, drawn-out certified survey map for the cemetery. So just, quick summary. Should have been a quick and easy boundary survey. If you remember when we did our title search work, we found a discrepancy of the legal descriptions of the adjacent lots. With Stan and Town of Durand on the assessor's plat, that's a long defined process that you have to follow and make sure everyone was agreeable to the plat and the lot line. So once that got approved, we're able to complete and provide what you have tonight, the 2-lot certified survey map for the cemetery. Lot 1 is all the cemetery property. Lot 2, the reason we had to include Lot 2 was with the adjacent property owner to the east. We had to work with that person to establish the east property line and the access road to the cemetery. So that's why it's a 2-lot certified survey map, combine everything into one. If we didn't have that issue with the lot line on the east, it would have just been a simple 1-lot survey map. So included in Lot 1 is the property that was previous in the town of Duran that they transferred to the city of Duran as part of the cemetery project. So that's all included in Lot 1. And then if you also remember, we had that small remnant parcel, the little brick-looking building by the Shell gas station that had to go through a legal process to get that cleaned up, and also included under City of Durand ownership. So this is the final document. So if you approve this tonight, this will finalize this over a year-long process that should have took a month to do. Any questions?
The Plan Commission did approve this. Any discussions concerning, it was all including the packet, so you had the opportunity to take a look at it.
Make a motion, we approve the survey map for the Forest Hill Cemetery.
Second?
Motion second to approve the Forest Hill Cemetery certified survey maps. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Harton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
All six in favor.
The next thing, discussion of possible action regarding the annexation of municipal property adjacent to the Forest Hill Cemetery. This is sort of the final piece of the puzzle. It finally gets us at least to this part. We get the annexation, we get the property lines, we get everything figured out. And again, this would be, now, could you explain around, sometimes annexations need public hearings. Can you explain why we don't need to do that? It just goes in front of Planning Commission and to us, and of course approval from the township.
In this case, because, so yeah, clearly we're talking about annexation here because we're changing our boundaries, we're adding property. That little bit of that, basically we negotiated with Mr. Brenner to get us back to the city. Just you want to know part of owning a cemetery. So, but fortunately, since that property was deeded to us, this is known as an annexation of municipally owned property. We already own the property. We're just officially basically notifying the state and everyone else that, hey, we know we're changing our boundaries. This is what our new city boundary is going to look like with the incorporation of the CSM. And so it's just a simple action of, like, clearly still has to go through Plan Commission, that's statute, but then it just needs to come before council without any sort of public notification, because again, it's property you already own, it's not affecting anyone else. So that's the rationale there. It's the easiest kind of annexation, otherwise the rest of them can get a little complicated.
I'll make a motion to approve the annexation of municipal property adjacent to Forest Hill Cemetery.
A second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartung.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
All 6 in favor.
Motion to read through. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, before Brian turns the camera off, there was one piece that I knew I forgot to mention during my report.
Okay.
No, very quickly. State Representative Warren Petrick is going to be in Durand Friday afternoon from 1 to 2:30 for an in-district state budget listening session. And obviously, if there's any other concerns any citizens might have, Representative Petrick will be here. He's slated to be, he picked outside sessions, he's slated to be out back in the Veterans Memorial, but clearly if the weather, his people contacted us, if the weather's poor, we're gonna be in the community room
Is this right?
this Friday.
What time again was that?
1 PM to 2:30 PM.
okay.
Weather's supposed to be good, isn't that
It's sunny, but a little cool, so, yeah.
They were just worried about rain.
Okay, get both out. Okay, sounds good. Next, the council will convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 90.